Hey everyone, welcome back to this week's episode. I have totally been playing catch up since I returned home from California, so thank you for your patience. It feels like it's been a couple weeks since my last podcast, but I was away in California for 1 week at a big event called Founder Made, where I had an opportunity to be a guest speaker for Dea. For those of you who may or may not know, Dea is a plant based company, happens to be the first plant-based company I learned about when I started my transition to plant-based eating about 6 months ago. And they hosted a influencer workout where I had an opportunity to be the guest speaker and take all of the influencers through a guided meditation and intention setting, which was really, really amazing. But needless to say, I forgot how being away from quote unquote work can set you back in terms of getting stuff done. So here I am, happy to be back connected with you guys, and I hope you all are doing really well. For today's episode, I want to talk about digital detox. The reality is, with screen time replacing face to face connection and conversation, separation and skills are definitely compromised. I feel led to talk about this because I have been noticing more than ever lately, people are constantly on their phones, and myself included. I've become more aware that I'm totally plugged into my phone lately. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that I'm trying to build a business. And as we all know, social media is a huge thing as it relates to being an entrepreneur and trying to get your word and message out there. But now more than ever, it really is time for each of us to do our best to resist that urge to be 24/7 plugged in. From social media to checking emails to replying to text messages, it's just so much at once. Not to mention because there's so many different social platforms. And humans are biologically, cognitively, physically, and even spiritually wired for connection. I've talked about this in a previous episode where every single person wants to love, be loved, and know that they belong. And the biggest problem in most people's lives today are their devices. Most might not recognize this to be the problem, but it's definitely problematic. People complain so much how difficult it is to get their kids to put down their phones, but let's be honest, most adults have the same difficulty disconnecting from technology. And we're hearing about it a lot lately, how friendships to marriages are being compromised because devices are a barrier and even a problem in some situations. And I'm sure you can relate, or you've had this experience where you're at a restaurant and it doesn't take long to notice that phones are a problem. People are at their phones even while at dinner. This always blows my mind as it relates to couples, because you'll literally be out to dinner and there's a couple sitting next to you directly across from each other, face to face, yet they're staring down at their screens. And I really want to bring this to you because, like I said, people are struggling more than ever lately. From mental health is at an all-time high, addictions at an all-time high, suicide rates are at an all-time high, even starting in children at age 12. It's like, pretty sure statistics show suicide is the second cause of death in children, which is just mind-blowing. And from children to adolescents, our kids, they're presenting with concerning behaviors. They struggle to make eye contact, they have poor coping skills, difficulty forming relationships, lack of motivation and interest outside of their devices. And this is a real problem because if kids are spending most of their time connecting and communicating primarily through their phones and not face to face, the brain may not further develop the neural pathways that are a vital part of human development regarding the ability to connect and communicate. The prefrontal cortex, which is a huge part of our brain, it's one of the most important parts of our brain, it's not even fully developed until age 20. And this part of the brain is responsible for the ability to think things through, decision making, and willpower. So think about it. The overuse of a person, especially a kid, being on their phone can interrupt the development of this crucial component of cognition. And although, it might not seem like a problem in the moment, this could absolutely cause long-term issues. And it's also a concern that children will become addicted to their devices because there's a biochemical reaction taking place when a text message beeps or when there's a new social media notification beeping on your phone. This same biochemical reaction occurs in adolescents and adults, But again, the younger it starts, the more problems it can cause, because it goes back to the fact that the brain's not fully developed. And every time the phone beeps with a new text message or notification, the brain literally lights up and releases chemicals like dopamine and serotonin, which, by the way, this is the same with people struggling with addiction. That's that reward center of the brain. When that lights up, there's this need that I have to have it now. And going back to the example of a person struggling with alcoholism or drug addiction, they initially get that urge, right? It's like that urge that they want to use again. And if they continue to experience that urge, it likely turns into an obsession. And then that's what leads back to relapse. In this case, it's a little bit different, right? Because we're talking about phones, but the feeling of the urge and the obsession is the same exact thing. And the activation of that reward center in the brain is the same thing. So for an example, you'll have a person who's maybe trying to put down their phone, but eventually they can't resist that urge because they're obsessing over their, social media notifications. They want to see, did they get new followers? How many likes did they get? And then it goes back to them picking up their phone because they have to know right now. And I'm sure you would agree with this. There's an overflow of entertainment and information available to people simply by picking up their phones. And because of this, people are never left to be bored with nothing to do. And this might not seem like it's an issue, but the reality is it's actually doing more harm to all of us than good, because we're not left with any time to sit alone. There's no time to be bored anymore. And the reason for that is we all know at any moment we could pick up our phone and within a second we're instantly right back in, plugged in. And it's keeping us from having to sit with ourselves, interact and engage in social settings, and to experience life in true reality outside of the reality most people are living in through social media, video games, the news, and whatever else their phone and devices are providing for them. And so I bring this to you all today because it really is our individual responsibility to unplug, and our individual responsibility to make time to be more conscious, to make time to be more mindful, to be more aware. And outside of being aware of what's going on our phone or on our social platforms, we're going to eventually do more harm than good to ourselves if we continue to disengage from face-to-face or real FaceTime outside of what the phone can provide. We as humans, we need that social connection. We need to learn how to be okay just being with what is. And it's in the moments that you're left with nothing to do. And it's in the moments when you're not plugged into your phone, because those moments are actually an opportunity to process, right? Process, how are you feeling? What's going on in your life? What's making you feel happy? What are the areas that you're struggling with, right? You need that downtime to really have that moment to reflect on everything that's going on in your life. And also, it's the moments where you are having some silence and you are unplugged that gives you a chance to build creativity, and also to learn how to accept what is. So many people, especially children, they use their phone as this immediate outlet, but I know we as adults were doing it too, right? It's so easy to distract ourselves by following someone else's life, or by just getting lost in the hamster wheel of social media, which is, where you're on there looking at one thing and next thing you know, you're an hour into social media, and all that is done is kept you from actually facing your own life and being present in your own life, because it's a false reality, right? You're caught up in somebody else. So I want to bring this to you guys today and really just invite you to be more mindful, to be present in your life. I'm not at all saying don't be plugged in. I know nowadays with the way technology is taking over, it's actually a need, right? We need technology. Everything is transforming to technology, but we can still create a balance, and that falls on us as an individual. So you know your schedule best, you know your needs best, but I really want to invite you just to find some time to where you're unplugged, and you can have your own boundary for yourself and do what feels right to you. I know we all have different demands, but I strongly feel that each of us, we have at least some time in our day where we can just put our phone down and just be. And perhaps that would be even when you're driving to work in the morning or driving home from your day. You know, so often we're driving and we're texting, and A, it's super dangerous, but B, it's not necessary. Things can wait. Unless it's an absolute emergency, an email can wait. You know, the social media likes and follows, they're going to be there. You know, none of it's going away. So do your best to just really be aware in each moment. And the reality is, life only exists in each moment. And so often we're missing out because we are so plugged into our phones and devices. So here are 3 ways that you can do a digital detox. These certainly aren't the only 3 ways, but the first one is to be a leader, a good role model. And this is especially important if you're a parent or you are involved with children in any way, because as we all know, children, they model everything they see. They learn from their parents or their primary caregivers. And if you're constantly plugged into your phone, then you can definitely expect your child's going to follow that behavior or learn that behavior from you. A second thing you could do is ban devices at dinner and really any tech from the table. So be deliberate in using table time as an opportunity to have real face time, whether it's for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Use that time to be present, a time to have meaningful conversations, a time to disconnect, and a time to just be, and even just reflect on your day and how you're feeling, a time to check in with yourself. And then another thing that I think could be important is, if you are ready to do a digital detox, then let your family and friends know, even your colleagues or people at your work, because obviously if you turn off your phone, it makes it difficult to be reachable, and you don't want your friends, family, or even your work to worry about you. But give them the notice. Hey, you know, I'm going offline for the next hour or two and I'll be back. And then use that next hour or two to do whatever it is that you desire. Perhaps it'll be read a book, exercise, or just sit on your patio, enjoy the outdoors, watch your favorite TV show, whatever it is. Just really unplug from having your face down in your screen. And it's interesting, right? Because when our phone battery is dying, most of us, if we're honest with each other, we start to panic. We're quick to plug it in. In fact, most people never let their battery get below half, 50% of juice, because they don't want to be without it. And before I end this episode, I just want to bring to you the idea. Imagine what you would see differently in your life if you were that dedicated to yourself in not letting your own juice run out. Meaning, if you were that committed to self-care, if you were that committed to making sure you're following through with your goals, your dreams, your visions, if you were that committed to taking care of yourself, what are the shifts you would see? What are the outcomes you would experience? I would love to hear from you. So if you're interested in pondering on that question and sharing with me, please feel free to shoot me a message on my Instagram, which is at mindfulliving.now. Or you can always connect with me through email, which is stephanie@themindfulliving.com. I will share my contact information in the show notes. But as I wrap up, I want you all to know that I love you guys. And here's to detoxing more than just our bodies. We're always looking for the next detox when it comes to our bodies. But it's so important that we make time for a digital detox, and a detox for our mind and our spirit, and of course our bodies too. So here's to detoxing our mind, body, and spirits.